Welcome once again, my fellow manipulators of digital fate. I'm Richie, this is Capricorn, and today's video is about the controversy surrounding the recent Pro Tour Final Fantasy, and namely how prominent Mono Red Aggro and Is It Prowess decks were at that tournament, and how badly Standard needs bans right now because of it. We do have a banned and restricted announcement coming on Monday, June 30th. At the time of recording this, that is tomorrow. So we're going to try and think up what maybe they'll ban, but more importantly, I have the most obvious, best possible ban you could do to fix everything that nobody's thinking of. So at the end of this video, the last card I'm going to show you is the ban that should absolutely happen that nobody's considering. Nobody's even remotely considering, and it's just perfect. Before we get there, we're going to talk about what most people are thinking about as far as bans. A lot of content creators are chiming in on this subject right now, and a lot of them have very similar opinions, but there is one sort of takeaway that I think I've gleaned from really thinking about this long and hard that I think Wizards of the Coast can apply to future sets and the way that they build out Magic sets to try to prevent having to have bans like this in the first place. So we're going to dive right in and talk about some of the obvious stuff first. Before we do, please like the video. It helps it get out to so many more people and helps the channel grow. And be sure to subscribe because a ton more content is on the way. So first and foremost, Corey Steelcutter. This card is insane. Not only does it give you a 1/1 token, that token has prowess. It happens every single turn as long as you double spell every single turn. And whatever it's attached to, which it can attach to the new token for free, gets trample and haste. This card is just insane. You guys know it's insane. It's in all of the mono red decks. It's in all of the Is It Prowess decks. The one thing I want to point out about this card though is I think it's too new to ban. Wizards tries to stay away from banning newer cards, and they're going to lean a lot more heavily on banning cards that are older because they want people to buy the product. They don't want people to stop buying Tarkir Dragonstorm boxes and sealed product in hopes of getting this card, so they want to keep that product as fresh as possible. And even though that's not necessarily a criteria that the players care about or what's best for the player base, it is still something that Wizards is always going to keep in mind, and they're always going to try to find other solutions before they resort to banning something that's a newer card. So I don't think Corey Steelcutter is going to get cut. That brings us to the next possible solution, and that's Manifold Mouse. Manifold Mouse can very, very easily give double strike to some of the best creatures that Mono Red has access to, while also triggering their Valiant triggers and putting extra power on them. It just kind of does everything you want, and as if it wasn't already good enough, if you happen to have more mana late game and you're out of gas, you can just dump your extra mana into getting two of these things and go ham. So Manifold Mouse is somewhat problematic. It's definitely not as good as Corey Steelcutter in my opinion, but being able to combine the double strike of the Manifold Mouse with the trample that the Corey Steelcutter gives is absolutely devastating, which brings us to our last possible mono red ban, and that's Monstrous Rage. An instant for 1 red, everybody knows this card. It's going to buff the creature +3/+1 the turn that you play it, but +1/+1 of that sticks around forever, which is kind of nuts, and it's just got trample. So this is the most obvious cut. It's the oldest card. It's the card that Wizards is going to be worried the least about impacting sales of sealed product if they ban it. And it's also the most prominent and the most problematic. Not only is it a key 4-of in both Mono Red and in Corey Steelcutter, but it's also good in some other really good decks, better than it should be. You know, if they're running like the VV version of Prowess, it's absolutely insane with VV acting as like a better Dark Ritual, basically giving you 4 mana for 1 instead of 3 for 1 like Dark Ritual does, but also the buff and also the roll token and also the trample. And with VV, you get the roll token and the +1/+1 counter, which means you also get 2 free mana every turn after that, even if you don't ever play any more spells. This thing is just nuts with VV, right? So I think this is the obvious cut, and I think a lot of people thinking this won't be cut are just overthinking it. I think because this is the oldest card, and because it's just an uncommon, it's going to be the least impactful to Wizards' bottom line, and I think they're going to use that sort of as the tiebreaker to decide what to cut. So I think Monstrous Rage is going to get the cut. The one thing I want to point out that all of these cards have in common is it seems like keywords, specifically evasive keywords, tend to be a real problem for red if it can be played in mono red and if it costs less than 3 mana. And I'm going to cite another example from Magic's past not too long ago, and that's Embercleave. This thing could come down for just 2 or 3 mana and not only be a surprise and a trick and land on whatever creature you want, very similarly to Monstrous Rage, but it gives the +1/+1, the double strike, and the trample. So it's got the, you know, the surprise, trample, and buff of a Monstrous Rage, but also the double strike from the mouse, kind of in the same card. And we saw this card get banned. This is a prime example of how if you can pay less than 3 mana for either trample or double strike in a mono red deck, that is probably too powerful. Those are the cards that seem to be the problem. Being able to buff your guy up to a huge degree and also give trample in the same card to make it so that no matter what you're getting through for some damage is just too much power at less than 3 mana. And I would argue that if you're giving both double strike and trample with the same card, that's probably too much power for less than 4 mana. At least if you want a stable standard where it's not just aggro running rampant and you never get to play against anything else on the ranked ladder. So I think the lesson learned from red right now is, please, for the love of God, Wizards, do not print any red cards that would be good for mono red that give double strike or trample and cost less than 3. Or double strike and trample and cost less than 4. I think that's honestly the problem. I think it's the evasiveness combined with the pump, the explosive pump, that really hammers home. I think if we were just getting pump spells and things like that, you could still chump block. If they don't have the double strike, you could still potentially trade with them. But taking away the value of a chump block or of a trade is just too much on top of how explosive those aggro decks can be. So Wizards, do not print double strike or trample on cards that cost less than 3 if they can fit into mono red easily ever again. Please God, just don't do it. And that brings me to the final card that is the obvious ban. The obvious ban. This is just so obvious. This is what you need to cut, guys. This is what needs to go. And it's very simple. Just ban mountains. Nobody likes them. Nobody wants to deal with them. You can still play red, but only in 2-color and 3-color decks with your dual lands. Just ban mountains. Just do it. No balls. Do it. I dare you. Welcome to my TED Talk. Thanks for stopping by. I'd like to thank the sponsor of today's video, Wonders of the First. Wonders of the First is a brand new collectible card game similar to games like Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon, featuring a unique action-based resource economy that helps avoid pitfalls like Mana Flood or Mana Screw, and a battlefield containing multiple realms that unlock over time as you fight for control of the stones. The first 400 card set is called Existence, and they've even partnered with Star City Games to host their competitive play tour at every single SCGCon event starting in August. The game contains alternate borderless art variants, as well as highly sought after limited edition numbered prints, culminating in a 1-of-1 stone foil. And the best part is that the developers have a community-first approach with a card database and deck builder available via Cardio, as well as a version of the game available on Tabletop Simulator, all for free. For more information, be sure to check out wondersccg.com today. That's wondersccg.com. Thanks so much for checking out my channel. I'd like to give a huge shout out to all of my patrons over at Patreon. Without you guys, this channel would not be possible, so honestly, thank you from the bottom of my heart for all of your contributions. If you haven't yet, like and subscribe. The more likes we get and the quicker we get them, the bigger this channel will grow and the faster it will grow. I'd love nothing more than this channel to become something very special for you guys, but it's entirely up to you how fast that happens. Also, if you'd like more deck text, that's somewhere over there. And if you'd like to see what else the channel's been up to lately, that's somewhere up that way. Also, subscribe, circle below, do all the things.